that was 2 minutes. Thank God I caught that in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's start again. Welcome
Yes.
to Unbuttoned. We have Isabella.
Yes.
Bella.
Yes, Bella will do.
Bella will do.
Yep.
You're a performer.
Mm-hmm.
You were just saying
Yes.
that you had your first international contract in Singapore.
Yes, for 2 years.
At Universal Studios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're working at a theme park. So the great thing about that is that you get like obviously the Halloween shows and the Christmas shows and Easter. So it's different throughout the year. But that was where I met my husband and we lived together. We all get lumped into this one big apartment building, and so there we were. But after that, it was getting, like we were saying, getting into cruising. So many people had said, oh, I love it and this and that. And I thought, I'm going to get motion sickness or something. But I didn't.
I get motion sickness.
No, but so do I. So I get motion sickness in the car, but not on the ship.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm. It's always
Did
the
you
first people.
Did you
first
have to
thing
take
people
any
ask.
tablets?
No.
No.
It's the first thing people ask me. Like, don't you feel sick? I'm like, you don't really feel it moving.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we got into that because so many people had raved about it, and we loved Singapore so much. But yeah, career-wise, time to move on, do something different. So we just auditioned for ships, and we said, look, we'd love to work together, please.
Yeah.
And we did, and we just auditioned, and I think the first contract was with Norwegian Cruise Lines, and we went pretty much straight into it. Went home for like 2 months, and then right into rehearsals.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's been pretty much constant since then.
And so you've always been like into theatrical performances, like when you were young. You mentioned that you were singing at the age of 4?
I was a dancer first.
Okay.
I started dancing at 4 years old, and then I think I was about 8 by the time I started singing, and my mum was an opera singer, so she taught me singing. So a lot of classical there. And then, acting came along with that. And then in high school, I learnt instruments and played in all the orchestras. So I was doing cello and viola throughout school, always in the arts. I did photography and that sort of thing. So, anything artistic. And it just kept going until after school. And I did full-time music theatre and dance. And then, kept going from there.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the very start. Do you think, was your mum like forcing you to kind of like get into dance and stuff, or did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it?
I enjoyed it. My siblings had also performed as well. My sister was doing dancing, and I think I actually asked Mum that. I said, did you tell me? She goes, no. She said, you saw your sister Bianca do it and said, oh, I want to do that. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I started dancing, and it just took off. It was like every day after school, every weekend. My brother was also an actor for a long time as well, and he was in a band for a while there too. So, and he did really well in the short time that he sort of, jumped into it. He did, Better Neighbours and all that sort of stuff. So I was very jealous at the time.
I did some extra work in Neighbours.
Yep.
This was a while ago. This was like 8.5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it just got... Look, I did a couple of extra jobs and I just found it really hard to coordinate like my life.
Oh, yeah. And extra work is very tiring too. It's a lot of sitting around and standing and waiting in the cold, and done a few things like that.
Yeah. But okay, so it's good that you wanted to do it, and it's good that you have siblings that were kind of doing it as well. Are they older or younger?
Older. So they're 9 and 7 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm like baby.
So you're baby. So you would have like seen them progress like much older and gone, hey, I really like want to do that as well.
Exactly.
And things like that. Right.
Yeah.
And so do you think that they kind of like inspired you to kind of like...
I think so. I mean, actually, I was just thinking about there's some old photos on my phone that I, scanned from my 21st birthday or something. Well, because it was never a digital photo, so I had to scan them to get them. Hey.
You don't look that old. Me, on the other hand...
It's my birthday next month, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Me, on the other, I do have photos on my phone.
Yeah, I had to scan them, and I've got a handful left on my phone. And there was a couple of me and my sister in our dancing costumes, and I think I probably looked at her. I was like, oh, she's so glamorous and so pretty, and like, oh, it looks so great, you know, because she's so much older than me. But like I said, like performing wasn't for them, so I kept going with it. But they stopped.
I think it is interesting sometimes when you have older siblings that do things that either inspire you or you end up being in like their shadows.
For sure.
Like at what point do you like overtake or like, you know, kind of like veer apart and things like that?
Sure.
I've got a sister who's 3 years older. She's very academic. She's actually the assistant principal to the school that we went to now in Singapore.
Yeah.
And I was forever in her shadows because she was academic. She was like into drama, like performing, like all of this.
Everything.
She was like golden child. And here I was like,
I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
you know, it seemed like she had her life like all set out, all planned out. So I've told her this most recently, but like years ago as well. Like I was always in your shadows, you know, and if anything, she inspired me to strive to be successful.
Yeah, for sure.
Strive to like try lots of different things and all this type of stuff. And she was really shocked to begin with when I told her because she was like, I had no idea. And I'm like, well, yeah, like look at you, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely looked up to my brother because him and his mates always like throughout their teens and 20s would sort of they do these like silly videos, and they did in radio, and they tried like skit shows and things like that, and they all were into acting and performing. And when my brother's band was, you know, writing their EP, I thought, oh, I want to do that, I want to do that, I want to do that. So I was like their biggest fan for sure. Yeah.
Groupie.
Yeah, I was their biggest fan.
I mean, it's kind of a good thing. Like, you know, if he didn't have any fans, he could always count on you.
Yeah, yeah, always.
But were you fanning for like what they were doing, or were you fanning for like you liked one of his friends, or you know?
No, it's funny you should say that. I did like one of his friends for sure. Yeah,
the exclusive.
There was
got nothing to do with you, husband.
Oh, it was years ago. I think I was like maybe 21 or 20.
Okay.
And
that doesn't seem like years ago.
I'm 33 next month.
Oh, shit.
So it was a little while ago. But yeah, no, I was very proud of my brother, and I thought he was so cool and his friends were so cool. But I definitely had a thing for one of his mates. Oh,
yeah. I mean, like and he was like 8 years younger.
He's like 8 years older than me. Yeah.
Yeah. So what type of like performances did you kind of like gravitate towards to begin with, like when you were younger?
Oh, theatre for sure. I mean, I do love like acting and sort of more like film and television, that sort of thing. And I did the band thing as well, released an EP, all of that. But definitely theatre and musicals and that sort of thing. So just encompassing the dance, the acting, and the singing all at once. I just get a real thrill on stage, and when the audience claps and all that, like it's just, and live theatre, man, it keeps you on your toes. It never gets stale. That's for sure.
Do you ever like what do you do to like prepare? Do you get nervous?
Oh,
or
yeah,
you get the butterflies?
Oh, I get nervous. Yes, I just did a production of Grease, and in Geelong with fabulous cast. They were all amazing.
Right.
And the director sort of changed it up so that, and I played Rizzo, and people who know me would say that I'm a natural Rizzo. Don't know what that says about me, but
I'm trying to think
very sassy, sassy.
Yeah.
Don't take no prisoners, sort of. Yeah. But he changed up the show a little bit. So Rizzo did become a bit of a bigger character. She had a bit of a bigger part. Like I opened the show with the song Grease is the Word, which isn't really in the musical, but it's in the movie. And so like the whole thing opened, and my family came and they were like, oh, it was just you on stage and you opened the show. I was like, yeah, isn't that cool? So, you know, and then
that is cool.
Yeah. And like we established the relationship with her and Danny before Sandy comes in. So it was like actually a bit more in depth in her sort of backstory as well. So I got a bit more of a look in that version of Rizzo, and I really enjoyed it. The season was too short. It was lots of fun.
Did you cry when Olivia Newton-John passed away?
Oh, that was awful. I can't remember where I was. I was probably somewhere overseas. Yeah, that was really sad. And I think our Sandy did a great performance for her as well. She was lovely. Morgan, she was a great Sandy, and I really enjoyed working with her. And I think, it's a lot. It's big shoes to fill, you know.
It's massive shoes to fill.
Huge shoes to fill, and everybody knows the film, and everyone knows the iconic outfits as well. And whenever she came out in a bad Sandy outfit, it was like I stand there behind her and be like, "Yes, girl, get it!" Like I thought she looked great. It was fabulous.
I mean, there's that meme as well that keeps going around comparing like the badass like Grease characters to
the Greasers, I think we were called,
to Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know the one?
John Travolta.
Yeah. It's like before the date, after the date.
Yeah. That's right. In the car. Yes.
In the car.
Yes, I remember.
So you just finished off Grease.
Yeah.
What's happening next?
There's a few things in the pipeline, yeah.
It seems like there would be a few things.
Yeah. Possibly looking at going overseas again, possibly looking at working on something for the comedy festival.
That's coming up, right?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Festival.
Yeah, some people I worked with years ago, I won't mention any names because I don't know, like they're still talking to their lawyers about the script, but some people I worked with a few years ago at the comedy festival have written something new, and they contacted me again and they were like, "You interested?" I was, yeah, sure. So we might be workshopping that next month, which will be great. I'm always trying to keep as active as I possibly can, audition for everything. And any, the musicals in Melbourne, I'm always like, yep, send me for it. Yep, send me for it every time. Yeah.
As in?
Like Wicked and...
As in an agency that you work for, you're like, yep, I'm always up for doing stuff like that? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so... Like, did you go to uni and did you do like a Bachelor of Arts or?
I mean, I think technically it wasn't a university. It was like a dance school that ran a full-time course.
Yeah.
So I think I have some kind of title, but the thing is like performing, you don't really need to go to school for it. Like I remember getting a really good enter score. So it was like my final score in year 12. And my mum was like, this was what you, I said, yeah, it doesn't matter though, because I don't need it for anything. I don't need it for performing. And so when I graduated school, I went straight into 2 courses at the same time at APO Arts Academy in South Melbourne. And I did dance all day and then music theatre all night. And I think I counted it up one day and it was 2 years of 70 hours a week.
What?
I was barely at home. I go home, eat, sleep, go back again. Yeah. And like 6 days a week because, you dance on a Saturday as well. So
Yeah. I think I had a friend, my friend Anna from Perth. She came to Melbourne. She went to that same school.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And she did it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And, it's just like absolutely nuts.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I originally only went there for the music theatre program, but my dancing had always been really strong. And like I said, I was a dancer first. So when the director saw me dance on a Saturday class, she was like, "Why aren't you doing the dance course?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a lot." She goes, "Come and do the dance course as well because you need your dancing for music theatre. It's always dance first in the auditions." And I'm so glad that I did it. If I can do those 2 courses for that 2 years, I can do anything. It was so much.
It would have just set the foundations for like everything else that you would have wanted to do.
Yeah. And it was hard. It was really hard. I was exhausted all the time. She pushed us really hard. So it was like, doing a show will never be as difficult as doing that. So it was a really good foundation to really push me. And I think also doing those 2 courses in the school that I was at, a lot of people either came out of it going, "Great, I'm ready for anything, let's do it," or "I hate this industry, I'm so done."
Yeah. Because I guess there would have been some times when you like really doubted yourself, or you're
still to this day. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Greece has been a great ego boost, but before that, I was like, you have 2 months off work, and I go, I can't do this anymore. Nobody, no one thinks I can Because you have to keep proving that you can do it. Every audition is like, prove that you can sing this. You can't just be like, yeah, I can sing that. Like, you know?
Yeah, I guess it's almost this weird like situation that you're in, because if you've just come off Grease, obviously you can sing and dance.
I can do it. Yeah.
You can do it.
And I got good review as well. Like,
if you get a good review, and then you have to go into the next audition trying to like having to prove yourself or like
every time
compete against everybody else.
It's very competitive. Oh yeah.
How do you go, like what goes through your mind when you kind of like go through auditions, and have you ever been, answer that question first. The second question is, have you ever been like declined at an audition?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, all the time. You go in and you do the dance call, and they read out the list of names, and you're not on the list of names, and you go home. Oh yeah.
Fuck, how do you deal with rejection?
Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. And I take it personally, and I wish I didn't, but I think I know what I'm good at. I know I'm good at it. So it gets frustrating. We're like, just let me prove to you that I can sing the shit out of this, or I could play that part so well. Like, so rejection's always there. Some people can really let it roll off their backs, but depending on if I, especially if it's something I really want, like it can be, it's devastating. But
it's actually so satisfying knowing that you would go through something like that, because at the end of the day, it just shows humility, and
for sure.
Like, you're a human. Like, of course you're going to get disappointed if you get rejected.
Take the day off work and you're like, I'll just go home now, I guess. Like, the post audition blues. Usually, like, you go.
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, especially if it's dance first, because you dance your hardest and you get out of there, and then the adrenaline stops. You go, I'm exhausted now. Yeah. I'm gonna get McDonald's on the way home and sleep. Like.
So I was just going to say, do you go home and get McDonald's?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just like the perfect comfort food.
Yeah, because you're on this high. You're trying to prove yourself in this room full of other people, and try to be nice to the other people around you, but you are competing with them. Like, it's this really weird, especially if you know someone in the audition too. It's like, hope you do well, but I really want the job. Like, so that's always so hard. But
that is hard.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any situations where like you got the audition and then a friend of yours didn't? Like, how do you?
Oh yeah, plenty of times that's been back and forth. And I actually was talking to a friend of mine because she sent me a reel that someone did on Instagram. It was like when your friend calls you to tell you that they got through to the callbacks and you didn't, and you're on the phone like, that's so great. It's really good. I'm so proud of you. Like.
Oh, but deep down inside, you're like,
oh, you're so
dying.
Crushed. Like, of course, at the end of the day, you're always happy for them. We always support each other, but there's always a moment. I think that performers are lying. They are lying to you if they tell you that they were not disappointed or a little bit jealous. That's a flat out lie. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the audition room and you wouldn't be in the industry. You've got to have a little bit of cutthroat about you. Not to the point, you're never going to trip someone else in the audition. That's not what I'm talking about. Let's be clear. But it's like, you've got to be competitive, and you've got to really, know your worth and just really work for it. Yeah.
Where does this competitive drive like come from though? Like within you?
I mean, for me, I started in competitions. So, dancing competitions every school holidays. My poor mum. I've got, trophies upon trophies upon trophies. And all the dancing costumes as well, the sequining and all that. So that was sort of, I guess, built into me from doing all those comps. But, and I know some people that tell me, I'm not competitive, but I love this industry. I'm like, but you've got to have a little bit of competitiveness, otherwise you get walked all over. There are people in the room, and especially in a dance audition, that will push you out of the way, or they'll stay up the front. And you got to have a bit of like, no, my turn to be in the front row. Like, I'm going to move up and do it, because you get lost. You get lost in the background. 30 or 50 people going into a room and dancing for a panel of 6 people.
Especially if you're doing stuff like internationally as well. Like, because I can imagine there being a lot of competition here in Australia because
it's small.
Because it's small and we're living on an island and like you're just competing against everybody else that's on the island, right?
Yeah, and it's a lot of who you know too. Like, I worked with that person before. Sure, let's.
It's a lot of who you know. But then when you go international, you're like opening yourself up to everybody else that's out there.
Yeah.
Doing
and then
the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And like
I was rehearsing in New York for one of my last cruise ships last year, I think it was, and I went and saw every show I possibly could. And it was so great. And, you know, some of the directors for that particular ship were like, have you ever thought about, you know, coming here and auditioning for Broadway? I was like, are you paying for my visa? Like,
are you sponsoring me?
Yeah, I said, I really need a sponsorship, but that sounds great. And he goes, I think you'd be fabulous and this and that. And I'm like, sure, but, you know, realistically, I've had friends that have spent all their money on those visas and just coming back and forth. And some people, they get a couple of jobs and it works. I mean, look, Margot Robbie was one of those ones that I think she went to LA, auditioned for something, and that was it. She was lucky. But
I mean, she slapped Leo in her audition and he loved it.
So brave girl.
I'm like, fuck. That was
brave girl.
Either like die or shine moment.
Yeah,
you know, if you're
for
gonna
sure.
like slap him.
Yeah, huge. But yeah, I'd love to have a wine, a glass of wine with her and just pick her brain for sure.
So you've had friends that have, you know, like taken all their life savings and done the visa thing and gone overseas. Have they come back like better, or are they still there?
No, not all of them. Some people come back and forth, and I've watched them from afar, and you know, nothing really comes of it. And they're still hustling, still trying to, you know, and if you want to start a family and that sort of thing, it's like you're burning through cash, and it's just like, it's such a, you got to love it. You got to love the industry. You got to be so passionate about it. So I don't know that, if it was someone else's money and someone was sponsoring me to go to Broadway for, a few weeks and audition, sure, I go do that.
I'm sure there's a listener out there that would love to do that for you.
Chicago is on my list. Really would love to do that. Thank you so much.
That would so be a dream, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I reposted something today on Instagram about if I won lotto, there would be signs.
Yeah.
And it was a house. Literally a house in the shape of a cat.
Aww.
If only, right?
If only.
Yeah, I feel like Dr. Evil every single time he comes and sits on my lap when I'm doing a podcast.
It's so cute, though.
Yeah. So internationally, which country was your most favorite to kind of like perform in?
Ooh, to perform in, I mean, thing is, like working on ships, we're always in the middle of the ocean. So I did a lot of traveling.
So the ocean is
the ocean was a great place.
Okay.
But no, I really loved working in Singapore for sure. That was a lot of fun, and I just loved living there. It was safe, it was clean, it was expensive, but we got paid well. So, you know, it was a really good lifestyle. Loved Singapore. I did one little thing in New York while I was there at a cabaret club. I had his friend say, come in and perform. I said, great, I can put that, on my CV. I've performed somewhere in, New York City, which is for an Australian, it was huge. So, I mean, working and living in New York would be definitely a dream. But I couldn't, Singapore will be the answer to that question. Yeah.
So I lived in Singapore for 6 years.
Yeah.
And I was born in Singapore.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I was born in Singapore on holiday.
Yeah.
So my parents weren't citizens. So I didn't have to go do national service. But lived there from 87 to 93.
Yeah, wow.
And with like that, it's weird thinking about it and telling people because it was old Singapore, not new Singapore.
Yeah.
So old Singapore, the tallest building I think was like 24 floors.
Yeah.
and that was the Pan Pacific Hotel.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Whereas now,
No Marina Bay Sands, yeah.
no Marina Bay Sands. Like now, you've
and the
got,
gardens by the bay, all those
yeah,
beautiful.
it was nothing like
the
that.
super trees.
Yeah, it was old Singapore where there was literally a police station.
Yeah, and a lot of that
every
is
corner.
yeah, it's all still there too. Like you can see that in a lot of the older areas for sure.
Yeah. And one of the things I loved about Singapore was the food.
Oh yeah,
like the food is just
everything's amazing.
Everything's
and you can get
available.
every cuisine. Yeah, 24/7.
Yeah.
I've always 24-hour Indian place we used to go to at like 2 a.m, and it was always amazing.
Yeah,
it's a huge portions of food. Oh, delicious.
Yeah, and the open air hawker centers and all of that.
Yeah, loved it.
So cruise ships.
Yeah.
Would you know I've never been on a cruise ship?
I mean, until we worked on one, I think we got the job and we were like, maybe we should jump on a cruise ship and actually see what this is like. So we were living in Singapore and just jumped on, I think, a Royal Caribbean ship for 4 days back, Malaysia and back basically. But apart from, working on them, I'd never cruised. Yeah.
What was it like? Talk to me about like your daily life on a cruise ship. Like see you, Larry, what would it be like?
It depends on the company. So I've had very different experiences with different companies. So there was one particular company I worked with where it was sort of a luxury cruise line vessel where it was like rich white retired Americans, basically. So, that is the best way to describe it. And, I'm talking like $20,000, $30,000 for a cruise.
Isn't that all of them? All of the cruise ships?
No.
No? You get some young people on cruise ships?
So
really?
Those ones were like 600-ish passengers. And in terms of my job, it was like you perform, but then you also run trivia, you run golf, you host dinners. It was all of that extra stuff, yeah. But the trade-off was the itineraries were amazing because the guests would be there for 30 days at a time. So we can't do the same 7 days over and over and over. So you'd go to a lot of different places. It was my first contract. It was amazing. It was like Iceland, Greenland, Finland, Russia. Spain, Italy, Portugal. It was like, it's just so many places, because they would, we'd have guests stay with us for 30 days, 2 months, whatever. Like, so that, but then you have to do all those extra sort of activities. But, then I worked on bigger ships and then you get the family cruises. So you get, little kids and, people on their honeymoon and that sort of thing. So those ships, it was more so like you do your show, maybe you have to do like a safety drill every week or so or participate in that or embarkation, that sort of thing. Say, oh, welcome to the ship. But how's it going?
Did you say in that voice?
Yes. And you're little in your safety gear and you have your, your life jackets on, and this is how you put it on. So
I noticed that there was a little bit of an American accent just
yes,
then.
I do have an American twang now after working with Americans for so long and talking to them. My R's have become a bit harder.
Would you believe I used to have an American accent?
Yeah.
Living in Singapore, like when we moved to Perth in '93. And I was so my mum's Indonesian.
Yep.
And my dad was Australian, and like we moved to Perth, and there's like the kids at the school were like, who the f is this?
This is amalgamation.
This Asian American.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people in Singapore had those American accents because that's how they were taught.
Yeah.
English as well.
Yeah. But we went to a British school.
Oh, that's
went
makes
to
sense.
a British
Singapore,
school, but then it's like the American accent is just like
it always comes back. Yeah. But so and then the last contract I did with a company where it was like you did your show and that was it. You did whatever else you wanted, but it was the same 7 days over and over and over again. Oh, so like that
gets monotonous.
That gets very monotonous. So yes, I had all this free time, but I was like, I've been there. But
here's the safety drill again.
Yeah, lots of freedom. So like if we do the show and then we'd have no other responsibilities, not even a drill. So we were basically like guest entertainers. Right. So I've had best of both worlds, and there's a trade off for both for sure.
So are there like employee quarters? Because like,
Yes,
would
definitely.
you? Sorry, no. Like, would you have particular areas, like let's say a quarter of the ship just for employees? Because they don't want you mixing with like the paying customers?
No, for sure. I mean, like all of the crew, there's a crew bar, there's the crew mess, and it's usually like the bottom layers of the ship, and then that's where they all live. And so if they finish work up on deck 10, they come all the way down to deck 2 or 3, or and that's where their rooms are and all of that. So yeah, no, there's crew quarters for sure. Yeah.
Did you ever get like homesick
being
away for such a long time?
Yeah. And my last ship, I was separated from my husband. He was and he was working on another ship. I think actually for a period of that time he was working at Dracula's on the Gold Coast. So he was doing that show. He's a singer as well. So he was doing that and I was on the ship and I was like, oh, hi honey, how's it going? You know, and I was in America, so completely different time zone.
Yeah.
So definitely that made me homesick, but most of our contracts we have done together, it's been only in the last 2 years that we've had to start doing things apart from each other. Yeah. So, yeah.
It sounds amazing. He sounds like an amazing guy.
Yeah.
How do you navigate being one, having a relationship, but two, being married and being in 2 completely different time zones, and how do you navigate that whole piece?
I don't know. You just do. I mean, the thing is, we've also had the best of both worlds where working on a cruise ship together, there's also no escape. You are with each other 24/7.
Yeah.
Live, work, play. You know what I mean? Like you get off the ship together, you do the show together, you knock off work and have a drink together. You come back to your cabin. It's just you two in a tiny room. So, you know, we've had that, and then we've had COVID, we had almost a whole year apart. And then last year and this year have been mostly apart again. It's just worked out that way. But we both have a good understanding of like neither of us want to hold each other back in our careers. We've both chosen very difficult paths. And I see that a lot, like even the few productions I've done recently where, you know, the partner's like, I don't know why can't you not go to rehearsals? Why do you have to do this on stage? Like, you know, there's all of that sort of understanding.
Hang on. So you've come across people who've had partners who like complain that
it's just we like to say the muggles don't understand. Like it's especially if you got a show like with Grease, like, you know, Kinnicky and Rizzo are like they kiss a lot. So, you know, the partner's got to be okay with that, and if they're not, then it's tense. But luckily I haven't had like too much experience with that. I mean, Bryn's been amazing, and I've watched him do, you know, We Will Rock You, and he has to like
shout out to Bryn.
He has to like get on top of this girl and like kiss her and all of that sort of stuff. So it's like that is a really good foundation for the careers we've chosen. We understand that that's just what you're doing. We understand that it's work. You take the job when you get it. You know, you can't say no half the time. It's really hard to say no because it's few and far between with contracts. So I guess, it's just a good understanding. And it comes all the way down to I have to do this on stage, you know, apart from, and he didn't even get to see Grease as well. So that was really hard too. But he's back tomorrow. Tomorrow. We closed last week, but he's back tomorrow.
Hopefully someone filmed it.
No, I got a few sneaky videos just so I can show him.
I guess it's a little bit like celebrities, you know, like in movies and stuff like that, like how they kind of maintain a relationship with someone who's not in the movie as well. You know, like Margot Robbie, for example.
Yeah.
Like having to have scenes with Leo, but then also having a husband. And
even more full on. Like, you know, if you'd be doing like, you know, sex scenes and stuff with people in movies, that's a whole another step. So it's you just got to trust each other. You got to be confident in your relationship. And we definitely are. So, you know, very, very strong, very stable to be able to withstand not only just the distance, but the fact that, you know, if he goes and does a tour of something and he has to kiss someone every night, then that's how it is. Like,
it's work, it's performance.
Yeah, and we're all discussing actually in the show. It's like you definitely have your showmance, you know. You have your showmans.
What is a showmance?
Oh, you'd get like your on stage crushes.
Oh,
your on stage
like
crush.
a bromance.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
but
You
just
have your
like
on,
the show
yeah.
stuff.
You have
Right.
your on stage crush. So like, and actually the girl who played Cha Cha was like, "You're my on stage crush." She's like, "Oh my god, thank you so much." So you
That's kind of cute.
you have your showmance for sure.
Yeah.
But and the important thing is you leave it with the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because you're both part of this equation of like creating this performance.
Yeah. And there's a level of truth to everything too. You got to like each other. Like how I hear about like actors that hate each other, but they had to do those scenes. I'm like, that's a good fucking actor. Like,
yeah.
how did you do that?
Like there's this one, I've read this article, I think it was last week, the actress that played Deadpool's wife.
Oh, yeah.
Hated the scenes where she had to like
Oh, yes.
kiss him.
Yeah,
and,
there was a lot of
all
scenes
this.
like that. Yeah.
And I was just like, hang on a minute. It totally didn't come through in the movie.
No.
But I guess being
I just let it go, I guess. Yeah. I mean, luckily in all the productions I've done, I haven't had anybody that's like really hated each other and had to do scenes like that. I mean, even when Bryn and I did Jersey Boys, he was Frankie Valli and I played his first wife. So
hang on, how many wives did he have?
his first wife. I can't remember how many wives Frankie Valli had. I think he only had 2 or something. But yeah, and then
I'll be honest, I never saw Jersey Boys.
you don't have to. It's okay. But if you like the music, it's a long one too. There's a lot of talking, but he played Frankie so well. So there was this big joke. We got engaged right before the show started, and it was like, "Oh, you're playing his first wife." I was like, "Ha ha ha, yes," and only.
I totally forgot about having to remember lines.
Oh yeah.
Like, how do you do it?
Just repetitiveness. I mean, even up to the last gasp, you can be like, what the fuck is that like? And as long as you keep the scene going,
Again,
great.
Just the humility.
Yeah.
So you do forget.
Yeah, shit, yeah. And in particular, the Danny that I was working with, Luke, he would always try and change it up a little bit. So there'd be things that I feel like he always said his lines exactly the same, but they were delivered completely differently each time. He really kept you on your toes. He'd change his mood a little bit throughout the scene, and the sort of like I was always someone that was like has to be so rehearsed and it's exactly the same every single time. But working with him was great because it was just like, oh, I can just sort of loosen up and let the scene happen. And if I did sort of muddle a line, it wouldn't throw him either. So, and yeah.
Creatively, like I suppose you would definitely have some individuals that were really structured and straight down the line.
Yeah.
They couldn't like deviate.
Exactly.
And then you would get some people who would be a little bit more fluid.
Yeah.
A little bit more
I got the scene, like, let's
and,
just,
you know, and stuff like that. Would you ever find that if you were a little bit more fluid that sometimes, even though the scene came out all right, like either the director or someone wouldn't like what you've done? Or
oh, for sure. Yeah.
How do you go about like navigating through that?
Yeah. I mean, if it's a performance, then you just take their note at the end of the performance, say, look, I like what you offered, but it's not coming through. If it's in a rehearsal room, then it's much easier to be like, all right, that was fine. Let's try in this direction just to see, I don't know. You listen to your director basically, and it is too late once you're on stage to really change it too much. And some people like really like to fuck with that. Some people are just like, I'm gonna like burn the world down. Let's do something different. And then you get you might throw some people, and then you get to the end of the performance, and the director goes, it was hilarious. Don't do it again. Okay. And that's
yellow
more so,
flag.
Yeah, that's more so with musicals too. I mean, working on the cruise ships, there's no time. There's like a 45-minute show. It's bang, bang, bang. And that is very much rehearsed the same every single time. And it's usually like click tracks. So we have a band, but there's a track underneath to keep the show constantly moving at the exact same pace. So there's no time for that sort of leniency. But in a musical where it's a live band, they're waiting for you, that sort of thing. Like, you can ease it out a little bit better. But But yeah, take the director's notes.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because you because like, I guess in a live performance, like you are trying to stay on script, but because again, like I think when you're dealing with humans, like one, they're the biggest asset that any organization can have. But then they're also the biggest liability because we're human and like we all make mistakes or like you forget something or like something happens and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like having to deal with changes, like as you say, like if it's in rehearsal, then it's easy.
Or even someone even dropping a line. Like it happened one night in Greece, and it was a line dropped, and I was like, immediately my brain went into overdrive, going, whose line was it and how can I prompt it and what it was, and then it felt like forever. It was probably like 5 seconds. She said the line and I was like, oh, we're back on track. So like, you know, and it didn't matter to the scene. We could have kept going, but in my brain I was like, how can I prompt whoever it is to come in next? What is it? You know, where are we in the scene? And I couldn't figure it out, and then she said the line and it was fine. But like, yeah.
So would you say that you're really analytical from that point of view? Like, and you try to like fix things and stuff like that?
Constantly fixing things. And then that particular scene, we had about 1,000 different props, and the whole time I was like, where is that prop going to go after this? And is that going to fall on the floor? And it's like my brain, going. But then there are other scenes where it's just two of us standing there talking, and it's like I can just not worry about anything else and just be in the scene. Yeah. Yeah. It depends on how much is going on, for sure. Yeah.
It's so interesting. Like, you got this like analytical side and then this whole creative side.
Yeah.
And you love performing and being involved in all this storytelling and, you know, meeting lots of different people and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, like, just thinking about like, meeting new people. Probably the biggest experience that I was part of before working overseas was when I went to LA and I did the World Championships of Performing Arts. Mm-hmm. And basically it's like the Olympics of performing. And so like you went there and represent Australia, you fully had, you know, your tracksuit with Australia written on it and stuff. So that experience was like, and it was like opening ceremony and we all got medals and things like that. Like
Isabella AUS.
Yeah. I've still got my tracksuit. So like just thinking about, meeting new people, that was a really great experience because we went there and met agents and directors and things, and you just got to sit down and talk to them, and people won scholarships, and I ended up studying in New York for the summer program. They gave me the 2 years and I was like, I can't afford, I can't afford, the course would have been free, but it was like day-to-day money. And I said, look, I can't commit to 2 years. And they said, look, come and do the summer program. So then again, meeting more people overseas and having that sort of foundation and putting that training on my CV was pretty great too, you know, studying acting in New York.
It's fascinating how there does seem to be some sort of international Olympic competition in every industry.
Yeah, it really is.
That's always overseas somewhere.
Yeah, there's always something. I know. So you think about in like or like really obscure sports or things, or even like chess tournaments and stuff. You're like they're a competitive, Rubik's Cube, competitive like Rubik's Cube. Like, like there's something for everything. So it's funny when I tell people in performing, they were like, you won medals for, I was like, yeah, I got 2 gold and bronze and silver, and they're all sitting at home. I should probably frame them at some point. But like, so like.
Frame the tracksuit as well.
Yeah. I got to figure out how to do that. I want to display my medals. I'm very proud of them. But so there's a competitive sport for everything.
You need to buy a mannequin for the tracksuit. Yeah.
I need a bigger house for my stuff.
Have it on display.
Yeah.
At the front door.
With my trophies as well.
Yeah. Who inspires you?
The people I work with, for sure. All the different people I've met. A lot of my American friends on all the different contracts I've worked with. Watching them, and my English friends. I mean, I have friends all over the world, but mostly England and British and American friends. They inspire me for what they're doing overseas, and I watch them get on Broadway and West End and all of that, and that's pretty amazing. And then just the people I also work with in community theatre who just keep going back just for the love of it. We're not getting paid, but they're there all the time. And it's just like, even some of the people I work with in Greece, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm a teacher full time, and then I come in and do these shows every now and then. And I was like, oh, you know, your beautiful voice and this and that. And just because it's not paid doesn't mean they're not talented. Like, you know, they inspire me so much more. And people that like do those shows, despite, you know, even if it is their family and friends going, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing that for? It's such a, like, you're wasting your time. You're losing work over this unpaid production. And it's like, yeah, but
it doesn't matter.
I love it so much. And those people inspire me, and I'm proud of those people that keep going back to do particularly unpaid work like that and do it well and, you know, really enjoy it, because I'm like, you're just getting the love and the passion out of it, nothing else. You know, you buy your cast jacket and you take it home and you wear it every now and then and you feel nostalgic. Like
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So, did you have like any mentors, like mentoring you through what you should do?
Mum's definitely been a big one.
Yeah.
For sure. And then any agent I've ever spoken to. Yeah, my mum was an opera singer, and after she had 2 kids, she went back to opera, and she even went overseas and performed and left my dad with the kids. Like, you know, she did the same thing. Like, yeah, she went and performed. She pursued the career, and it was a few years after that, and then she had me, and she was like, well, guess I better stop now. And so she kind of stopped performing for me. So there's also a bit of like that, like, not responsibility, but I can't think of a better word, a bit of a responsibility of me to keep it going, even though I'm doing it for myself. Like, I love it. I can't do anything else.
You feel like it's an obligation.
It's a bit of an obligation, but in a great way, because she's my biggest supporter too. Every time I audition for something, she goes, oh, I hope you get it. Or, you know, I think you should do it. Like, even with Greece, she was like, oh, definitely do, like, you know, you'd be great as Rizzo, and, you know, looking after the puppy while I'm in Geelong rehearsing, you know, all of that. So like, she's mentored me throughout my entire life, and especially in my technique of singing. But I mean, I could probably shout out a few of my singing teachers, a few directors that I've worked with, you know, and even some of the directors in America that I've worked with have been like, oh, just keep going. So, you know, so many people, and cast members as well, you know, asking their advice on things, because like we were saying before, it's about who you know. So it's like, oh, you know, what do you think of this company, and should I pursue that with that person? And you know,
I think in today's day and age, like having more insight into workplaces or like potential, you know, areas that you want to go into, like building on those relationships with people that can give you the insight, give you that knowledge, or
invaluable,
give you that confidence that yes, it's good to go here, or it's not so great to go here, and all this.
Oh, I give that a miss, or that's worth pursuing, you know.
But then kind of like compound that with what you were saying before about auditions and having to deal with like performing or auditioning with, like, against your friends.
Oh yeah,
and like,
constant. Yeah,
you know, it's such it's potentially a minefield of like emotions and like what direction do you go
definitely
in, like all this type of stuff.
I mean, my husband's been my biggest fan, of course. Like, every time I get something, he goes, that's fantastic, that's so great, you should do it, you know. It's like, I'm so proud of you, I'm so happy for you. So, like, you know, maybe not so much mentoring, but definitely a biggest fan, for sure. And every time I don't get an audition, he goes, can you promise me that you won't get upset? I'm like, I promise nothing. Like, I promise nothing. I just want to keep doing this forever.
I promise nothing. Where are the tissues?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So your mum would definitely have been like an inspiration, and there's this obligation to kind of keep things going. So she's so tough because you've seen her success and the things that she's done, and that's probably where you kind of like, oh, like
the drive and the you got to be tough. You got to be pretty strong, and especially the way that Brendan and I are doing it, where we're apart for so long. You got to be really.
Do you ever go to your mum and ask for like relationship advice because she did that with your dad? You're like, hey mum, can you give me the skinny?
No, well, I haven't needed to. I haven't really needed to as much because we do have such a great understanding. We do have, like, Brendan and I.
Do you want a drink?
Yeah, I'd love a drink.
Sparkling water.
Thank you. I'll use my nail that's already come off, so I'm not going to break another nail.
Nice.
I had my nails done for the show for Rizzo. Had the red put on, and I even had a little K for Kaniki on the wedding finger.
Yeah.
So, yes, and get those done. That's where I'm going to next. Excuse me while I open my drink, everyone. Yeah, but back to Bryn and I, we're so solid. So, it's I haven't thankfully needed to go to anyone and be like, well, what do I do about this?
Yeah,
we're pretty open, and even like talking about what is in our future. He goes, if you get to a point where you can't deal with me being away for 4 months at a time, then tell me, I'll come home and we'll talk about it. Like, he knows that, like, we both know we really, in the end, do need to put each other first. But to a point, like, there's no chance I'm going to be like, if he gets into a tour in Australia, I can't be like, oh, you can't do that. Like, no. If I know that it's his dream, I'm not going to tell him no. There's a point.
As long as he helps you meet your dreams, right?
Mm-hmm. As long as he gets me in the right doors. Everybody he knows in the industry is someone else from me in the industry.
Oh, so
opening doors for each other.
Opening doors for each other.
Absolutely.
But then there's also this like competitiveness between you two.
Oh yeah.
To get the better show.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing. Hey, I mean, if I was dating a woman, we'd be in direct competition. So it's it's a good thing that
it's a good thing he's not a woman.
But true. Like, I
there's
see,
no problem with that, but like,
no, but it's just about that. Like, you're talking about competition. Thank God we're not up for the same roles. Like, we can work in shows together, which is great. We did Priscilla together. We did Jersey Boys.
Queen of the Desert.
Yeah, he was a drag queen.
Really?
He was Felicia.
Hang on.
So he was
competing. He was competing against shoes then with you.
He did very well in his thigh-high red patent leather boots. He did beautiful job, honey.
Nice.
So proud of you. I'll have to show you a picture of him in drag after this. I did his makeup.
Really?
Yeah. Well, for the posters, yeah, I did his makeup, and he actually pulled it off beautifully. Yeah. So we competed for the shoes, yes, but apart from that, there's no drag queen roles for me in that show.
No, there's not. It's so it actually is inspiring hearing you talk about your relationship with him and how you like both support each other.
Have to
do all these different things and like just the way that I can just tell the way that you talk about him, like the amount of love that you have for him.
Well, even just like thinking about, supporting him in the way of if he's to come home and, take a break from cruise directing, I don't want him to come home and work in a bank like he did 10 years ago. I don't want to come back and work in real estate like he had to do for COVID. So even thinking about maybe 6 months from now, if he's going to be home, I'm like, okay, what could he do? Probably like drama teaching or something like that, or, coaching in some way, or working for an agency, because like I want him to be, relevant in the industry too. I don't want him to have to do something that is completely irrelevant and he hates. It's hard to find as a performer that 9 to 5 if you need it. Well, like we have been extremely lucky that we haven't needed it apart from COVID up until now. And this was since October I've taken the leap to stay home, and that's when I started teaching Pilates. So that's my muggle job is I teach Pilates.
Right.
Yeah, and that's fun, but I don't wake up going, "Oh my God, I can't wait to teach Pilates. I'm so excited to," like, no. I love it, and it's, I don't get me wrong, my boss is going to watch this. I do love it. It's lots of fun, and it's actually a very calming, really satisfying job. It's really nice. It's so much better than doing something retail or hospitality.
Yeah,
you know,
because it's active.
Yeah,
and, like, you're doing
that's
stuff.
right.
And
Yeah.
I think you can really see the impact that you have on
Yeah.
people who attend the class. Right?
Yeah, and I have like people come in and they're like, I had this one woman that was just like so upset with herself that she couldn't do something. I was like, it's okay. I was like, let's go back to basics. I let the rest of the class keep going. I'm like, let's start again. You know, so that's so much more gratifying than trying to sell something.
I fucking suck at Pilates.
I need to take Bryn to a class actually. But that's it. You got to start somewhere. And I'm the first person to be like, I have to be good at something the second I start it. I'm that person. I have to be an expert now.
That was kind of like me when I so pre-COVID I started I went back to doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh wow. Yes. Yeah, I have a few friends that do
and
that.
I was like, I did like 3 of the starter off classes.
Yep.
And like the 4th class, yeah, I can do like I'm going to jump up like I got all the moves, like I understand it. It was a 45-minute class and 15 minutes of like warming up, and then it was like 10 minutes of like technique. And then we did 5 minutes or 6 minutes of sparring, and you're supposed to buddy up with someone who's of the same belt color and same
level and
same height,
yeah.
right? And like I'm 6'2", and so it's not very many white belt 6'2" dudes, right? So I think it was like the 3rd round of sparring, I like buddied up with like this short Asian girl. I was like, I got this. I got this.
Did she humble you?
She humbled me big time. We were on the ground and she got behind me, and I thought, hey, I'm 6'2". I'm just gonna just gonna stand up and like shake her off. I stood up and I almost fell on the ground because she choked me out. Yeah, and I had to tap out like real quick.
Great.
Yeah.
I love that for her. It was a good day.
Yeah. But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I think, is like one of the only martial arts that it doesn't matter how big you are. It's all about technique.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
for sure.
And if anything, the smaller people are the ones that have the advantage, because with larger and longer body parts, it's harder, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, much like dancing too. It's like the taller you are, unless you're going to be a ballerina, it's like it's more limbs to control. So you have to see the short dancers that are like so fiery and really, you know, quick on their feet and that sort of thing. So yeah, I can see the.
Did you ever want to be a ballerina?
I don't think I ever wanted to be a ballerina, but I definitely thought I could be a dancer. And I was like, dancing can be a very short career. You get to my age and you're like, ooh, my body's not doing that anymore. Seriously, yeah, you hit your 30s, you're like, well, that's that. Not everybody, but it's very, very, very common that you will get to this age and you're like, it takes me an hour to warm up as opposed to, you know, a bit of a stretch and I'll be right, you know. So, yeah.
Warming up? What are you doing warming up?
You know, stretching.
I'm 45 this year. I ain't warm up for shit.
I still had to warm up for the show, definitely, and we were doing Grease. I was like, I better do a bit of a stretch. I didn't do anything crazy, but I was like, I better stretch.
Hang on. So,
whereas my voice, I don't have to warm up as much.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. The more I sing, whereas the more I dance, I think the tighter I get, the more tired I get. But if I'm singing, it's like the more I sing, the less I have to warm up.
When you just like pull out a couple of Pilates moves, be like, yeah, I'm stretching.
I need my medieval torture device to do that. You know, the reformer. The reformer.
That shit hurts my back.
Oh, that's been so good for me, and that's why I definitely pursued that as my little muggle job. Because as a lot of dancers do, a lot of performers will go into something fitness based because it's good for your career as well.
Because it helps you maintain fitness.
Yeah, you got to maintain fitness.
And like maintain,
yeah, all of that.
So when did you start Pilates?
Oh, it's only been this year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like I said, I didn't need a job up until, apart from COVID where I worked in Mecca, and that was when I got into makeup artistry. And again, that was something very humbling. I thought I was good at makeup. I was not good at makeup. Now I'm good at makeup. Like, I'm so much better at my own makeup and I'm really good at doing it on other people. But like, yeah, that was like relearning that as well in COVID.
Hang on.
I've done a lot. There's a lot to cover.
So Mecca during COVID, but you couldn't go anywhere.
No, well, yeah, no, because Melbourne. So it was when we started opening up in November.
Oh, gotcha.
But we were all still in masks and all that. But
Right.
I was doing like training in makeup in COVID, and I started my little makeup Instagram, and it's especially in Halloween, I was buying face paint and stuff and trying all of that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's like the busiest time for makeup, isn't it? Like the Halloween
that
period?
and like wedding season for sure. I assisted on a wedding recently. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Weddings are if you can get into the wedding business as a makeup artist, excuse me, it is good money. Good money. Stressful. Dealing with bridezillas and all that, and like keeping and making sure the makeup is staying all day, like all of that sort of stuff. But
yeah, when I was a photographer, people would always ask, "Oh, have you ever done weddings?" And I'm like, "Nah."
Yeah, a lot of people refuse to do it. Yeah,
I refuse to do it.
Yeah,
because one, you only get one chance.
Yeah,
Two, you're like having to deal with all the individuals and potential divas.
Oh, yeah.
Three, the pressure.
So much pressure.
And like having to carry around all this equipment.
All that stuff, yeah.
You know, I'm like, nah, I don't need that much pressure on me. Like I put enough pressure on myself.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, I did a little bit of photography, but I ended up getting more into modeling, and I was just looking at like talking to lots of photographers and stuff, and working on shoots, I always preferred to be in a studio because you didn't have to worry about the light, you didn't have to worry about the time of day, are we allowed to shoot here, all of that. So it was like doing studio shoots was always so much fun, and that like, way less pressure, and you got the time to figure it out.
How long did you do that for?
Modeling, it just became a thing after I graduated full time when I finished my training, and I was like, well, now I just audition and hang around. So that was when I started working retail, and I just got on like those Facebook groups and said, oh yeah, I'll do that. So did a lot of studio, I did runway, I did bridal, I did prosthetics, heaps of different stuff. And so that was all my early 20s before I went to Singapore. I did hair modeling, that's right. So I had all my hair cut off and dyed pink, and yep. The lavender was for me, not the pink. After she did the pink, I was like, so can you dye my hair lavender after this, because I'm not vibing the pink? She's like, yeah, that's fine. So then I had the lavender, and that was right before I went to Singapore.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so modeling and came out of being behind the camera too, because as you know, like the equipment's also expensive, and I had very basic stuff, and I did a lot of it in high school and a little bit in my 20s, but I was better off being in front of the camera because I could just turn up and do my job well, and then walk away again. Yeah. There's so many times I go to a shoot and they go, oh, where'd you train? I'm like, train to be a model. I'm like, nah, I just
my backyard.
I don't know. I guess it was just because I was a performer. I kind of knew how to hold myself, and like, I
just keep looking at myself in the mirror.
Yeah. I practice in the mirror. That's my training.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, yeah. It's a really good question.
You knew this question was coming.
Yeah, because I watched a few videos. I'm like, what the hell would I say? Probably advice I'm not going to take, to be honest.
What? Why?
Because I'm too stubborn. Like don't.
You're a Leo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Stubborn and fiery.
Kind of explains it.
Gee, never guessed. Oh man, it would definitely be like, keep going. Don't give up performing, which I haven't. But I mean, it's probably advice that I should take, and if I said it to myself, I would take it. Is don't get so down every time you get a rejection. Try not to let the rejection get to you, because that's my biggest downfall with auditioning. And every time I called my agent, I'm like, did you hear back? Did I get in the room? Because since COVID, it's been a lot of video submissions. You get one take. They might watch 3 seconds of it, and I think I've done really well. Whereas 15 years ago, it was like everybody had to be in the room first. No, they would never take a video. So I think not that the rejection's gotten harder, but it's been like a little bit more of that unknown. I didn't get to put my best foot forward and show them how good I am in person, because the other thing with a video is that like you could have done 20 takes to get that sound. But I'm getting off topic. So yeah, it would be something about trying not to let the rejection get you down so much, because I every time I think about giving up, I'll watch a show. I'll go see a musical, or I'll watch, Chicago, the movie or something, and go, oh, that's why I want to do it. That's right.
Yeah.
I just can't do anything else. I just can't.
I think when you're younger,
Yeah.
like being affected by rejection is, it's transformational. Because you learn something.
There's just jogging my memory. There's talking about rejection. There's something to be said about people my age who were dancers. It was very, very tough then, because there was no one keeping teachers in check on how they spoke to you, or how long they kept you rehearsing, or how far they pushed you down in the splits. So, like, you can't do that anymore. You can't get away with that anymore. We had the toughest teachers you could possibly get, because it was like they were cutthroat, because that's what it would have been like for them in the 80s. And so, like, it was do it or leave. Why, what are you here for? So I feel like that made me very, very tough as well. And there's something to be said about that. Like, let's not get too polite about the industry. You still got to be cutthroat, but definitely some of the experiences
I was
I've
gonna
had.
say, like, are you saying that like teachers now are a little bit soft? Or
Some
because
can be.
Because they can't.
Because they can't be too tough, because everyone's got a phone nowadays. Everyone it's not, I'm not saying that there was any kind of, abuse or anything like that. It's just that they were so much tougher. It was like, oh, I'm tired today. I don't care. Do it again. Like, the flexibility was a massive thing. It was like did not understand that, my hips are not going to go that way. I'm actually never going to be able to do the splits in that direction, like in the middle. But only now do I know that, because of the way my hips are. Back in the 90s, it was like, in early 2000s, it was like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you more flexible? You just need to stretch more. So it was like, that's also come from a basic knowledge, understanding, and the internet and all of that. And we know more, but it's also with the internet, it's like you can get away with less. Like, is it Dance Mums and,
Yep.
I've never watched any of it because it's like too triggering. But it's like, yeah, there are teachers like that exist that were like, I remember being deathly sick and I couldn't turn up for rehearsal, and she goes, you turn up or you're cut. And she didn't need me. She actually in the end didn't even need me to dance. It was just the point of, you have to be there or you will be cut from the number. And of course, it's just like the worst thing in the world to not be in that number for that one show. So I just don't think you could do that anymore. Like,
I suppose that there probably would still be teachers like that in,
oh shit, yeah,
I don't know, like smaller schools, or like where the knowledge of that type of behaviour wouldn't, necessarily be known, that it's not acceptable.
Yeah, and then it's like, to the point of like, and I'm sure it's the same in the modelling industry, and like telling girls they look fat in certain things, and it's true, but like, this girl's got a really good body, she can wear whatever she wants, but with you, we might have to like just change a few things or whatever, you haven't got a six pack, so therefore you're fat. Like that was when I was auditioning in like when I was 19, 20, it was like thin, to be thin and muscly. It's getting better. It's definitely getting better, but I still see
such a contradiction, thin and muscly.
I know. Well, like ballerinas,
pick which one you want me to be. Like,
it's like the industry says that we're trying to have more diversity, especially in body types, but I still see a chorus line in a lot of shows. I look, I'm like, there's no one on there that looks different from each other. Yeah. You're still hiring the same people that look good in a leotard. So, and that's not to say that I'm not necessarily one of those people, but I never felt like one of those people. Always, so there's that's definitely a huge cutthroat thing about this industry that I think has a very long way to go before we stop commenting on, especially women. And then the guys, they always have to have a six pack. Look at all the boys in like Chicago, they're ripped. They all look amazing. But
I'm never going to be a performer.
they're like, yeah. And then it's like, but then if, look, a guy walks into audition like, oh, I can't audition for Chicago because I'm not ripped. Like,
I just like my food too much.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, or my body's just not going to do that. Like,
yeah.
And that's fine.
I think I got my first six-pack when I was like 41.
Yeah.
And it's because of COVID.
Yeah, there you go.
Because you know what? Like you couldn't go anywhere.
You couldn't go anywhere.
And it was easier for me to get into some sort of like routine for like doing meal prep. And you'd go for your like 3 walks for the day within your 5K radius, And like that's the only reason why I got a six-pack. And then when things opened up and like you could actually interact with friends and like go other places and like food was a little bit more accessible.
Let loose, yeah.
Yeah, it was like God.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I think the industry has, in particular, that's at the forefront for me anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, and diversity in all respects as well. Getting more of everybody on the stage.
And I think I think it is something that now that more information is available about stuff.
It's thrown in your face much more too. Like,
yeah. And it's just, I guess it's just going to take a little bit more time for like some industries to kind of like really be truly inclusive.
Oh yeah, and the performing industry is definitely one of them. Oh yeah, that's a very long way to go. In every respect. Yeah.
Next question. If you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I've always said that I want to have a steak dinner and a red wine with Hugh Jackman.
Oh, yeah. He's alive.
He's alive, but he's not coming to Australia for the Deadpool Wolverine movie. Not happy about that, Hugh.
Why? Why isn't he doing that?
Oh, it's something about, it's just money. It's probably just way too expensive to get down here. But I'm like, you're Australian. You should be here.
You should get a free flight.
Literally.
Come on, Qantas.
So, yeah, I mean, him, Margot Robbie, obviously. It's the Australians. It's the famous Australians that just like, just want to pick their brain and talk to them. I just think because there's just not that many of us that really have made it that far. And that was my aspiration. I want to be like Margot Robbie.
Well, it's interesting that you picked Hugh Jackman first because he was a theatre performer.
He was.
Before he became a movie star.
Yeah.
And no one knew him.
No.
Until he went overseas and did Wolverine.
I've had like teachers that were with him in Sunset Boulevard all those years ago. My mum's best friend did a show with him, back in the day, and it was like, you were with Hugh Jackman? I was like, yeah, well, he wasn't anybody then. And it was just, and that's right. And it's particularly him because he came from theatre as well. And then I think it was Wolverine that like shot him into stardom.
Yeah.
And in, household names sort of thing. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that I would want to have dinner with. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's a long, long list. I mean, one of my favorite pop artists would have to be like maybe Avril Lavigne. I've got her lyrics tattooed on me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Got lyrics from her. I've got lyrics from Alanis Morissette.
Really?
As well.
That's old school, man.
Yeah. They were also like badass women when I was a kid. So it was like, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. That's, I think I might have said her name wrong, from Seinfeld.
Yep.
I think she's badass. I like her. I think she's a great role model for like taking no prisoners. So I think she'd be really interesting to talk to too. With strong women. Yeah. So, yeah.
So I'm picking up a little bit of a theme that the direction you're going to take after theatre is some sort of movie role.
I would love to. Yeah. I'd love to get into more. I did a lot of film and television stuff when I was a lot younger. It was easier to get into that I don't know, as a teenager, I guess. I did this one miniseries with it was an Australian miniseries, and it had Rachel Griffiths, Emily Browning, who's like been back and forth in the Australian industry, and
Emily Browning, she was in American Gods?
I think so. Yeah. She was like, and Sucker Punch and like a few other things, a really pretty face.
And then she did that other thing.
She's done a bunch of things.
She did that movie, and maybe it was a TV series, and it was really bizarre.
And Hugo Weaving.
Yeah.
And I did like, and they would, that was my, and I was like probably 12 or 13 at the time. And that was, yeah. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, so, you know, did a little bit, but it was more, like I said, it was more so when I was like early teens and that sort of thing. And, you know, the extras on Neighbours and Miss Fisher Murder Mysteries and stuff like that in my 20s. Like, yeah. So, but I definitely
want to move into it.
I'd love to.
Movie and.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it'd be so much fun. Yeah.
What's your all-time favorite movie to watch?
I actually got asked this recently, like, what's your favorite films? And I have to go back to like nostalgia. So it would have to be things like, the first things that pop in my head are like The Mask and Ace Ventura. Jim Carrey, my first
your first crush.
Yeah, first crush.
Wow. Does your husband look anything like Jim Carrey?
No.
Oh, no. You're supposed to say yes.
He looks like, what's his name? Seth, what's his name? Who does all those voices on Family Guy? Is it Myers? Seth? No, not Myers. Seth Rogen? Oh, no, not Rogen.
Yeah,
it's Seth, one of the Seths.
Seth, yeah.
He's also very good at impressions. But, or Taron Egerton. He got told he looked like Taron Egerton, so I'll take that.
Yeah.
But movies, yes. Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally. Nostalgic.
These are old school 80s
nostalgic movies. 90s, 80s movies, because that's, my heart lives in the nostalgia for sure. Like my favorite TV shows are The Simpsons, only the first 10 seasons. Only the first 10.
Very specific.
Very specific. Got only shit after that.
Why?
Yeah, just got shit. It's not good. The writing's so good in like season 6. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. The writing, season 6 is probably the best one. Season
Did
5
they
and 6.
change? They must have changed writers.
Yeah, I think that. And then like, you know, just like, it's been like 30 something seasons. Like, come on. And Seinfeld.
They're like predicting stuff now.
Yeah. Well, they were predicting stuff in the 90s. It was insane.
Yeah.
But like, that and Seinfeld is my go-to. So yeah, again, that's the 80s, 90s nostalgia.
Why is it the 80s and 90s nostalgia like era? Like,
I don't know. I think there's something like there's, you know, people say that millennials.
You're born in 91.
91. They say like millennials feel like they have to go back to a simpler time, maybe because we had so much change over such a short amount of time. It was like, you know, you went from, hi, it's Bella, is Sarah there? Like, you know, you had to like call people's house. You had to remember their numbers to, I can text people on Instagram and Facebook and like, I've got this computer in my pocket. Like we went from, you'll never have a calculator on you at all times to, you can FaceTime people. Like it's just the difference. I talk about this all the time with my high school friends and stuff. It was just like the difference that we went through is so astronomical. And then of course all the people older than us who have been able to go from even less than that. Like, you know, it's wild. And I think there's something to be said about going back to that nostalgia. And it's like, you know, things and like situational comedy of Seinfeld, you couldn't do 90% of that show now. Because they'd have a phone. It was like one episode where they're waiting for someone. Because you said when you had to meet someone, you're like, yeah, I'll meet you there at, 10 o'clock. I was like, oh, how long do I wait if they're late? You know, like things like that. It's a simpler time, even though it was really not that long ago.
Well, no, it's not.
It's not that long ago.
I'm in the generation where I lived in both.
Yeah.
So we lived in that time where you didn't have technology, and then technology emerged. And like I remember, I think it was like 11. So we were living in Singapore, and my dad had enrolled me in computer classes.
Yeah, or like typing classes
on
and
the
stuff.
weekend.
Like,
But like computer programming, like MS-DOS type stuff, and like we'd learn how to create a game, you know, which was just like an equation game or like Pong or something or other, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember walking out of one of those classes, and I went to the music shop and I bought a cassette. I can't remember what cassette music it was.
Like, yeah, even cassette tapes to Spotify. Like.
Yeah. And it was just like, I remember like that that feeling of going to the shop and buying that cassette tape.
I still have CDs in my car, and I was actually with Luke, our Danny, and he was like, are you playing a CD? He's a bit younger than me. And I was like, yeah. He's like, just play Spotify. I was like, I don't have Spotify. I don't want to pay for it anymore. And I don't also one less reason to touch my phone. I'm going to have a bunch of CDs in my car. He was like, yeah, all right, fair enough. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, now I can listen to the whole album instead of one song. Like, no one does that anymore.
I mean, you can listen to the whole album on Spotify.
Yeah, but people don't. But they don't. Wasn't it Adele who was like, you have to listen to her last album was like, you have to listen from start to finish. You can't just start it in the middle and then, pick a song at random. She was like, no, it's a story. Like, and a lot of albums were like that. I mean, one I was listening to recently, Green Day, American Idiot. Mm-hmm. It's like there's like 3 or 4 songs that like go in and out of each other, and they're just like it reads almost like a story, which is probably why they made it into a musical. But yeah, like it's just I'm getting off topic again. It was just this really like it's a simple thing. It's such a simple thing of like putting on a CD or a record. We have vinyls.
Yeah,
as well.
There are vinyls.
I know, it's so fabulous. Look at this. Bryn will be so jealous.
I mean, I
love it.
I am trying to invoke this kind of like particular retro aesthetic.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Because I think it's warming. Like it's
It
comfortable.
is. That's going back to favorite movies. It have to be things like that. It's like things that from my childhood that I watched on VHS over and over again.
I got a theory though. I got a theory because your siblings are older than you. That's the time period that they grew up in. And so you probably looked at them and be like, oh, that's like really, and that was like your foundation.
Oh yeah, and of course I looked after them. I thought they were like so cool as well because they're so much older than me. My closest cousins are quite a lot older than me too. They're in their 40s now, and it was like they were all like the cool adults when I was a kid.
Why did you say they're so much older? They're in their 40s.
Not so much older. They're older than me though. They're like 10 years older or no more now.
Yeah.
Not now. They're older than me now. No, they've always been older than me.
They've always been, yeah.
Yeah, it was just, looking up to them because,
But I'm sure they look at you and they're like, she's doing some cool shit.
Yeah, they actually all came and saw my show. My cousins came and saw my show, which was really cool. And they're like, oh, you're so good. I'm so proud of you. I'm like, thanks for coming. All the way to Geelong because the performances were in Geelong. So, yeah.
That's a big drive.
Big drive.
Did you have to like live down there?
I only did for the last few days and actually I stayed with one of the cast members, I stayed with Luke.
Right.
And we just like every time we come back after a show, we're like, gotta wind down now. Like, do you want to have a drink? Like, yeah, let's just sit around. Like, cause it's just that like driving back wasn't so bad because you're wired, but then once you get home, then you got to wind down. So it was nice for us because he lives in Ballarat. So it was like the two of us not having to drive all the way back to our homes again for an hour and a bit. So we could actually, that hour and a bit that we would normally be driving, we sat there and like decompressed and like have some food and, so, but apart from that, we were, a couple of us, him included, we were driving back and forth from either Ballarat or Geelong, Melbourne to Geelong.
It's so important to like decompress, like after
shows. Yeah. On the ship, we were required to go upstairs and have a drink with the guests.
Oh.
So we'd finish the show, have a quick head out of the shower because your hair and makeup's done. So you have a shower. And then you because you're sweating after just 45 minutes of constant singing and dancing. It doesn't stop. And then quick shower, put your suit and your dress on and go upstairs and have a drink with everyone. So then that was our decompression. And that was still like another hour and a half or 2 hours after the show's done at 10 o'clock at night. So you definitely become a night owl for sure. Like performers are like, oh, I'm not a night owl. I'm like, how? Your performances are always at night.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
So does that mean you're not a morning person?
I have to get used to it from Pilates. Yeah. I was talking to someone at work and he laughed at me when I was like, I'm not a morning person. I'm like, no, I'm not a morning person. I do not willingly get up at 6 or 5:30 in the morning in life. 7 a.m. is the earliest I want to get up.
7?
That's the absolute earliest. And that's only since having a puppy. So no, I'm definitely a night owl. Yeah, I've gotten better in the mornings though because I have to be.
Is your husband a night owl? Is he
yeah,
or a morning person?
He's a night owl, but again, his job is very much like it's 24/7. So he'll be up at 6 in the morning, but then he has his break in the middle of the day. But then he's up again until 10:30 midnight, schmoozing with people or going to a meeting or something. So he can get by on a lot less sleep than I can.
I think I fluctuate between being a night owl and being a morning person, but I've always been a morning person because I'm always like up and like either going to the gym or like the other day. So on the weekend, I launched my website. Of course, I was like, got to get up at 5 o'clock to do my website. Why? Like on a Saturday. Because I just had this idea and I'm like, yeah, like I want to do it.
Let's do it now. Yes.
So you just got to do it. And because I don't have any family that live in Melbourne, like I've got no one to like bounce ideas off or like no one going to help me. No one's going to help me. So I'm just like, oh, well, I'll just do it.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what time of day that this idea comes into my head. Yeah. I'm like, if I start thinking about it, I'm like, shit, like I'll get annoyed if I haven't like taken the initiative.
Pursued something, through it. Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. Plans for, I know I've already asked this, but like plans for the rest of the year?
Well, my husband's only home for a month.
Okay.
So, and then he's gone again until Christmas. So I'm just,
are you going to,
he's December 11th. He's back.
How do you go? Will you go and see him?
Probably, yeah. The plan is for a week or so, 10 days over September. So not long after he leaves.
Yeah.
We're trying to get to a friend's wedding in Italy as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the plan. He happens to dock on the day. So
wow.
We're like, oh, okay, great. Let's try and like get there. So, but I mean, in terms of performing for me, auditioning for anything that gets sent my way, I will audition for. I'm constantly on like Facebook and Instagram for the different like independent theaters as well because they don't filter through the agencies, so you got to find them yourselves. Like I found Grease myself, so I'm looking for all of those. Looking at working on workshopping something for the comedy festival, which would be great. And potential of looking at some more overseas like guest entertainer stuff where you're only gone for like 2 weeks and then you come back because that's always so much fun.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could do the 6 or 9 month contracts anymore, and if I did, it would have to be with hubby. Like he said, oh, would you ever want to do a contract with that company? I said, yeah, but we'd have to do it together.
Yeah, because then you could like support each other and just be together, right?
Just be together. Yeah, save some money. You know, it's great money. That's why we keep going back. Like, no people that have done ships, constant. They'll just come back for a month, relax, go back again.
Because I guess you're not like spending any money.
You can save a lot.
Yeah.
And you can spend a lot if you party all the time. If you party and shop, that's where your money goes. Other than that, there's no bills, there's no groceries, unless you like chips in your room and stuff. But like, there's no groceries. All your meals are cooked for you. Your travel's done. It's just whatever you do off the ship, really, and then any drinks you buy on the ship. Because again, majority of the cruise ships, the drinks are either like subsidized, so that like usually you get like a discount because you're crew, and most of the meals would be free. If you're in a specialty restaurant, you might have to pay like $20 for your steak or whatever. But like,
yeah.
But if you really wanted to save every penny, just don't drink or shop and eat all your meals in the crew mess. You would not spend anything besides the internet, paying for the internet.
Yeah. All right, last question.
Yes.
What advice would you give anybody who wanted to start out doing what you're doing?
Don't.
Shit.
Oh, look, I have said it before. I do hope my children don't want to seriously pursue this like I have.
Why?
Because it's so hard.
But you're such an inspiration.
I don't recommend it.
No?
You know what? I don't recommend it unless you are as tough as nails.
Right.
You've got to be tough. So if someone came to me like, no, I'm set on it. I'm so set on it. I have to perform. Like, great. That's a really good place to start. It has to be your whole life. It has to be passion. You have to do it for free. So have the drive. Try not to let the rejection get you down. And yeah, just keep going, keep pushing. It's a long slog, and even listening to podcasts of very famous people, and they are like, when's the next job? When's the next one coming from? You know, because it's never a guarantee. It doesn't matter where you are.
I mean, you hear all those stories about celebrities when they start off, how much couch surfing they did, because they didn't have anything.
Yeah. So yeah, you have to be passionate about it to a fault. Yeah, it has to be everything. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother trying to pursue it professionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be it. And don't let the rejection get you down.
Although the rejection
so hard.
is character building.
Yes.
And it will make you a better person. So if anybody wants to offer you to pay for your sponsorship overseas, or they've got a performance gig contract,
for sure.
How can people contact you?
Oh yeah, I mean Instagram is probably the easiest way. It's Isabella Celeste. I know it's so.
How did you come up with that name?
It's so wanky. No, because first of all, Isabella Celeste Capelli Jenke is my full name. Isabella Capelli is what's on my CV. But I just liked Bella Celeste when I was doing my music, when I was doing my EP and my solo music. I was like, oh, Bella Celeste sounds like a cool, like Avril Lavigne. Like it's a good.
Do you have CDs available for people to buy?
Oh, I do, but they're in a box somewhere. Like I don't know if anybody listens to CDs. I think my song's on SoundCloud now, but that's it.
Oh.
I don't even know if I have the file anymore.
Not even Spotify?
No. That was years ago. It was 2014 or something, 10 years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, Bella Celeste on Instagram. All my stuff is there. All my reels from all my different contracts and photos, and yeah, it's all there. That's the best place.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming to have a sit down.
This is great.
Hopefully I can get you back in 6 months, or at the. We're in July now, so maybe January or February, see how your year went.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, hang on.
It's been a pleasure.
Let me just take a quick selfie. Yeah.
In my kitty socks.
Yay. Amazing. Well, thanks everyone for listening in.
Thank you.
Make sure you hit subscribe and that notification bell, and I'll catch you guys all on the next one. See ya.
Bye.